I gripped the steering wheel tightly, my knuckles turning white as I drove down the desolate highway. The night was pitch black, the moon obscured behind a thick layer of ominous clouds. The wind whispered through the trees, creating an eerie symphony that sent shivers down my spine. A feeling of unease settled in the pit of my stomach, but I pressed on, determined to reach my destination. My mind drifted back to the warning I had received earlier that day. Locals spoke of a stretch of road haunted by the vengeful spirits of those who had perished in tragic accidents. They called it the Highway of Lost Souls. Foolishly, I had brushed off their tales as mere folklore. Now, as the road stretched endlessly before me, doubts crept in, fueled by the darkness that engulfed everything. Suddenly, my headlights flickered, casting eerie shadows on the surrounding trees. My heart skipped a beat, and I prayed it was just a glitch. But then, the engine sputtered, and the car came to a dead halt. Panic washed over me as I realized I was stranded on this forsaken road. With trembling hands, I reached for my phone, hoping to call for help. But there was no signal. The isolation and the chilling silence were suffocating. The darkness seemed to close in, pressing against the windows, as if it had a life of its own. Fear gripped me, squeezing the air from my lungs. I stepped out of the car, my breath visible in the cold night air. The surrounding woods loomed like specters, their branches twisted and contorted, casting eerie shadows on the ground. Every rustle and whisper intensified my terror. I felt like a lamb surrounded by wolves. I made a decision to walk, hoping to find help or civilization. The further I ventured, the thicker the darkness became, swallowing everything in its path. My footsteps echoed in the silence, each one a reminder of my solitude and vulnerability. The trees whispered their secrets, the leaves rustling with a macabre rhythm. In the distance, a faint light flickered, a beacon of hope in this nightmarish landscape. With renewed determination, I quickened my pace, desperate to escape this living nightmare. But the light seemed to dance just out of reach, teasing me with false promises. Hours passed, or maybe it was an eternity. Exhaustion weighed heavy on my weary limbs. The light grew dimmer, and a sense of dread enveloped me. I realized I was lost, trapped in an endless loop, condemned to wander these haunted grounds for eternity. A bone-chilling gust of wind howled through the trees, and a figure emerged from the shadows. It was a ghostly apparition, a spectral figure draped in tattered garments. Its eyes glowed with an otherworldly light as it reached out towards me. I stumbled backward, terror consuming every fiber of my being. But then, a voice echoed in the wind, a whisper that sliced through the darkness. "Find the crossroads," it urged, "break the cycle." With newfound determination, I retraced my steps, my senses heightened. I searched for the crossroads, a place where paths intersected and destinies were decided. And finally, as if guided by an unseen force, I stumbled upon the sacred junction. Heart pounding, I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. With trembling fingers, I reached into my pocket and pulled out a small silver cross. I held it aloft, its metal glinting in the moonlight. A surge of energy pulsed through me as I pressed the cross against the ground, a beacon of hope and defiance. In an instant, the darkness shattered, replaced by a blinding light. The apparitions dissipated like smoke, their anguished wails fading into the night. I had broken the cycle, escaped the clutches of the Highway of Lost Souls. As I stood there, gasping for breath, I realized that some secrets are best left buried. The darkness had tested my will, my sanity, but I emerged victorious. The scars would forever mark my soul, a reminder of the horrors I had faced. I returned to my car, the engine roaring back to life, and continued my journey, forever changed by the night that almost claimed me. And as I drove into the distance, the moon emerged from behind the clouds, casting an ethereal glow on the road ahead, a symbol of hope and the triumph of light over darkness.